Some films are just entertainment, but every now and then, one comes along that feels more like a prophecy, a film that gets under your skin and just stays there, and its warnings only get louder and louder as the years go by. And for my money, no film feels more like a direct message from 1976 to right now than Sidney Lumet's masterpiece, Network.
See, this wasn't just a satire. It was a full-on scorched earth diagnosis of where mass media was going. And even though it came out nearly 50 years ago, it gave us this chillingly accurate blueprint for the wild, digital world we're all trying to navigate, or, let's be honest, kind of drowning in today.
Okay, so to really get its impact, you've got to picture when this thing came out. We're in the mid-1970s. The country is still reeling from Watergate, there's all this economic anxiety. People just felt adrift. And into all of that, Network lands like a howl in the dark, a scream captured on film.
And that gets us right to the heart of the movie's big question. At its core, Network isn't really just a film, it's like an autopsy of the American soul. It diagnosed this sickness and how we consume not just information, but each other's pain. A sickness that has, only gotten worse over time.
So, the whole story hinges on this one unforgettable character, Howard Beale. He's this respected, old-school news anchor, a total relic. And when his ratings start to slip and he gets fired, something inside him doesn't just crack, it completely shatters live on national TV.
But here's where it gets really crazy. It's how the network reacts. They don't see a human being in crisis, a man who desperately needs help. Nope. They see an opportunity. They take his very real despair and they rebrand it as raw authenticity. His agony literally becomes their hottest new product. And then he yells this line, a line that became this iconic rallying cry for a whole generation. Beale basically gives a voice to a nation's frustration, and it sparks this massive catharsis. But, and this is the absolute genius of the film, it shows you how that real, raw anger is immediately captured, packaged, and sold right back to the very people feeling it.
And that is the real tragedy of Howard Beale. He's not just insane, he's lucidly broken. He sees with perfect clarity the absolute emptiness of the whole spectacle he's trapped in. But he can't escape it. His moments of profound truth just become another channel to flip to, another piece of content to consume.
So, this whole dynamic, turning genuine human moments into packaged entertainment, that sets up the film's central conflict. It's really a battle for the soul of the news, and it's embodied by two characters who represent the past and the terrifying future.
In one corner, you've got Max, the old guard newsman who really believes that truth is sacred. And in the other corner, you have Diana. And honestly, she's the most frightening character in the movie. Not because she's some evil villain, but because she's just so ruthlessly efficient. To her, a human breakdown isn't a tragedy, it's just data. It's a resource you can mine for ratings.
And this right here, this is the movie's most profound and, frankly, disturbing idea. The system that Diana is building doesn't have to silence the truth. Oh no, it does something way, way smarter. It puts dissent on primetime television. It gives it a spotlight. And by doing that, it completely strips it of any real power. But the film doesn't even stop there. It goes deeper, suggesting that television isn't just a business, it's becoming a new kind of religion, a whole belief system designed to manage and pacify everybody.
I mean, think about it. Beale's whole Mad as Hell thing becomes this weekly ritual. People scream out their windows, they get this little rush of release, and then they go back inside. They sit down, they turn the TV back on, nothing actually changes. The show just goes on. Which brings us to one of the most bone-chilling scenes in movie history. The big boss, Arthur Jensen, calls Beale into the boardroom. And he doesn't have a conversation with him. He delivers a sermon, a terrifying sermon that lays out the real new world order.
Jensen basically explains that nations and ideologies don't run the world anymore. It's all run by the international flow of capital. Democracy? That's just a nice story we tell ourselves. There is only the business. And you, Mr. Beale, you aren't a citizen. You're a number in a vast, cold economic machine.
So, why does a movie that's almost half a century old feel like it could have been written yesterday? Well, because the system it was describing isn't a movie plot anymore. It's just our reality. Those warnings didn't just come true, they became the instruction manual for the world we live in. Just look at our media landscape today.
Anger drives engagement. Public meltdowns go viral. Real emotion is something you can monetize. And polarization? That's great for business. The film's biggest insight, that outrage no longer threatens the system, it fuels it. Well, that's the engine of the entire 21st century internet.
You see, Network didn't predict the technology of social media. It predicted us, our psychology. And that leads to the film's final, brutal twist. The second Beale's ratings start to dip, the second his truth stops being profitable, the network has him assassinated, live on the air. It's the ultimate, horrifying conclusion of turning a human being into disposable content.
Yeah, this is not a feel-good movie. There's no hero you can comfortably cheer for, because the whole time you feel kind of implicated. It holds up this giant mirror and forces us to look at our own part in the spectacle, our own hunger for the very things it's warning us about. It just gets sharper with every viewing.
And really, the film just leaves that one question hanging in the air for us to deal with. It stops being about them, the TV executives, the mad prophets. It becomes about what we reward. Every click, every share, every single view is a vote for the kind of world we want. Network just asks us to take a really hard look at what we're voting for.